Hi, my name's Jefferson White, and I play Jimmy Hurdstrom on Yellowstone.
You alone, Jimmy? I'll take that as a yes.
Jefferson White, first of all, congratulations. You are a part of the #1 show on TV. How does that feel?
It feels incredible. I feel incredibly lucky, and it's all, obviously, you know, I've loved the show for years. I've loved the show since we started making it, since the first time I read the script, so it's an incredible gift to sort of feel that, for other people to sort of get a chance to see it and to fall in love with it the way that we have, you know?
It's kind of hard to describe with words how uncomfortable I am right now.
What kind of reaction do you get in your everyday life?
I live in Brooklyn, New York, so out there it's pretty mellow. Everybody's very cool. Everybody's very distant, which is a bummer for me because I'm always walking around trying to get recognized. You know, I'm always like making protracted eye contact with people like, do you want to talk to me? Nobody wants to talk to me.
It's my first date with the Texan, so I don't really know the protocol.
So, Brooklyn boy, what drew you to the project? Talk to us about the casting process from the beginning.
So I read the script in, 2016, I think it was. My agent sent me the script, and they originally had me auditioning for Cassie, for the role of Cassie, which I read, and I was so immediately obsessed with the script and the role. Cassie, that's an incredible part, but I also sort of recognized right away, that's not me, that's an ex-Navy SEAL, ultimate badass cowboy. So what I did was, I loved the script so much, and I knew I wasn't quite right for the part, so I went through the script looking for anything else that fit. So I immediately sort of connected with Jimmy. That really felt kind of right down the middle for me, just a sort of guy trying desperately to keep up, a guy who's in over his head, sort of trying to survive in a world that's very new to him. That really resonated with me. But I also, so I made a tape for Jimmy without anybody asking me to, which could have gone either way, but worked out pretty well.
Wait, you were at the Yellowstone? Thought the Yellowstone was gonna get me out of trouble.
So let's dive into season 4 of Yellowstone. When you read the script and saw for the first time that Jimmy survived after being unresponsive on the ground, because I'm not gonna lie, for a second, we thought we lost you.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
Well, first of all, it was like, there's 4 people who are in, dire straits here. Mm-hmm. You've got Kevin Costner, American legend, and then you've got Kelly Riley, who plays Beth, and you've got Luke Grimes. 3 Duttons there in danger. So if anybody's expendable, let's all be honest about who's expendable. It's me. So reading the end of that, I was like, oh boy, if anybody's going, Jimmy's going. And I read that script. I know because it's the finale of season 3 that I'm not gonna read another script for 6 months, which means I don't know if I'm gonna have a job or not for 6 months. So I'm just frantically texting everybody. And let's be honest about who responds. Very few people. I'll end up texting Denham and being like, Denham, have you heard anything? And he's like, why would I have heard anything? But when I found out I survived, I was incredibly grateful to keep doing the best job I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean? To get to keep working on the ranch and keep working with those guys. This is the best job I've ever had in my life.
What happened to him?
It's on the list of things we need to discuss.
So it really is top secret then. Like, you don't know how far in advance the storyline goes for Jimmy?
I don't know anything. And that's, I think, appropriate for Jimmy particularly.
I was gonna say it's very on brand for Jimmy. Well, I'm glad, we're all glad that he survived because there are so many more stories to tell with Jimmy. I love when you mentioned about Casey, you said, he's this ultimate badass cowboy, but look now at this full circle moment at Jimmy being an ultimate badass cowboy.
Jimmy's come a long way. He's still got a long way to go. The more I learn about this stuff, the more I realize how little I know, and it has a way of humbling you. Anytime I start to get ahead of myself or start to imagine that I've got it all under control, the horse has a way of humbling you,
Now, obviously, Jimmy is a fan favorite, and I feel like a lot of people would even argue he's the heart of the show. Why do you think it's so easy for people to root for Jimmy?
That's very kind, and I appreciate people's response to Jimmy so much. I think part of it is just that he's new to this world too. I think people really connect to the show in part because it has these huge sort of romantic, sweeping, sort of idyllic views, it's this kind of epic world, it's this sort of, the American West we romanticize all the time. There's this sort of the legend of the American West. And I think people really connect to that. And then Jimmy's so new to it. It's a world that Jimmy is just learning about and just sort of trying to find his footing in. So I think in some ways he becomes a bit of an audience stand-in, For me, that's been my experience with Jimmy, is that I've been learning about this world, this culture, this community alongside him. And that's a way in which I've connected to him from the beginning, is that we're both sort of outsiders looking in and outsiders desperately trying to fit into this world.
So you'd say you're pretty similar to your character then in real life?
In a lot of ways,
just minus the horses in Brooklyn, that part.
Exactly, yeah. In a lot of ways, both largely in that we're both just sort of learning and doing our best to learn from everyone around us, and that's certainly been the case for Jimmy from the beginning. He's new to this. He's desperately watching Rip, Lloyd, John Dutton, trying to pick up everything he can. And that's absolutely the case for me on the show too. I feel so lucky to be surrounded by such brilliant actors who I've admired for so long. And in the same way that Jimmy's learning from those characters, I'm, looking to Cole Hauser, learning from Cole Hauser, learning from Kelly Riley, learning from Kevin Costner every chance I get, So the same way that Jimmy looks up to these characters and sort of aspires to earn their, respect, I feel exactly the same way on set.
Action. I know what you're thinking, that it's cruel what I'm doing, sending you away, that it isn't fair. This isn't a punishment, Jimmy. It's an opportunity if you let it be.
Kevin Costner, to be able to now work alongside him, could you ever have imagined that?
He's a myth himself, he's a kind of legend of American cinema, Western cinema. And I'm lucky in that Jimmy is awed by John Dutton in the same way that I'm awed by Kevin Costner. So the real gift of that is that I never have to pretend that I'm not, in awe of him.
See you around, Jimmy.
See you around.
What is your favorite part about playing Jimmy?
I love, honestly, my favorite part of working on the show and my favorite part of playing Jimmy is just getting to sort of spend time in this world that I might never have otherwise gotten to know. The Western world, cowboying, ranching, is a sort of lifetime pursuit. It's a kind of, it's an entire sort of world unto itself. And if not for Yellowstone, I might have never had the opportunity to spend time on horses, to spend time in the rodeo world, in the ranching world, and that's been an incredible gift. So my favorite part of working on the show is just the opportunity to learn about this world, to learn about acting from the brilliant actors on the show, to learn about writing and directing from Taylor, who is obviously a sort of myth unto himself. Taylor is, I think, he's writing his own legend right now. He's an incredible sort of mythic figure in American television right now.
About the horses. You like them?
It's kind of more like facing a fear.
So being surrounded by these brilliant creatives and also being surrounded by these brilliant cowboys and ranchers and animal wranglers and stunt performers, my favorite part of it is just getting to learn from all these geniuses.
There you go.
Right there. Right.
How much training did it take for you to pull off being such a believable cowboy?
So I had never ridden a horse before Yellowstone. I had never touched a horse before Yellowstone. Before we started shooting the first season, we had several weeks to practice. We are surrounded by brilliant trainers, brilliant horses. It's a sort of best case scenario if you're a moron who has never touched a horse before, which is what I am. So we really were given every opportunity to learn as much as we could, and still fail constantly. 4 years later, we're still very much learning. It's a lifelong pursuit.
It's the shame that hurts the most.
Did you have a fear of horses at all going into it, or were you pretty just okay with it?
Actors, we don't really get the luxury of fear. If they were like, hey, your job is to ski down that hill, I would say, you got it. Thank you so much. Happy to be here. We don't have the luxury necessarily of that kind of choice. But it's also these animals and these trainers are so brilliant that had I been afraid, I'm sure they could have navigated that. They they really are remarkable teachers too. So it was hard to be afraid in the circumstances where I had the best teachers with the best animals, the best resources available.
How am I gonna pay for all this?
Well, the hospital's pretty curious about that themselves.
Jimmy, he's no stranger to a hospital. Now, with these horses, have you had any real-life injuries?
Knock on wood. There's got to be some wood around here. Knock on wood. I've been very lucky. I've got some permanent scars. Just a little bit TMI on the inside of my butt cheeks. There's a kind of, what do they call them? Rorschach ink blot of scars.
Wow.
That will probably never heal. Other than that, I've been very lucky. Very sore, very bruised, very sort of beaten up, but very lucky.
We gotta go back to the scars on the booty because now it's like, it's basically your...
It's an evocative image.
It's a version of the Yellowstone brand. It's not on your chest,
That's
it's
exactly
on your
right.
booty, and now Yellowstone is with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it is kind of a Y shape.
Look at
You
that.
know? It's kind of a permanent Y.
Do you know if anyone has suffered injuries that are similar to your scars on your booty?
I think I was the newest to riding on the whole show, which is lucky because Jimmy's the newest to riding on the whole show too. So I think I was the person who had the least experience and the least calloused butt. The real thing is that it's a little bit of luck, but it's also an incredible amount of skill. You know, we're surrounded by horse trainers, stunt performers, a safety team that keeps us incredibly safe. You know, and it's a tricky job. Their job is to make it look as dangerous as possible while being as safe as possible. And they always err on the side of safety. You know what I mean? We don't take risks. They're really brilliant at creating the feeling of frantic action and frenetic, sort of chaotic movement while it's all under control. That said, you can't really like fake bucking. You can't really fake a bucking horse sequence. So I have an incredibly talented stunt performer who's been playing Jimmy as long as I have, Bobby Roberts, and he's done all the bucking sequences since then. He does the stuff they're not quite ready to let me do yet.
This ain't go fish, Jimmy.
When the cameras are off in the bunkhouse, what goes down?
Kind of the same thing. It's not so different when the cameras are rolling. We're always finding ways to compete with each other. We're very competitive, especially me, Denham Richards, and Ian Bowen, who play Colby and Ryan. We're always finding ways to compete with each other.
You could ask me on a date.
I could do that.
So do it.
You wanna go on a date?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Jimmy went 0 to 60 with Mia. Then he goes 0 to 60, not even 60, 0 to 100. Jimmy hits the gas very quickly when it comes to women. Why do you think he falls so fast? Is he a hopeless romantic deep down inside?
I think there's very few people in Jimmy's life who have ever taken any interest in him, looked him in the eyes, seemed to show any sort of genuine care for him. I think he's kind of starved for attention and starved for affection.
Let me buy you dinner.
No, I can't let you buy me dinner.
You got a girlfriend?
I don't know.
I think he had a very complicated, to say the least, family life. He's had a very complicated, to say the least, history prior to landing at the ranch, and then the ranch isn't exactly the most nurturing environment. It's a bit of a trial by fire. So I think for Jimmy, anybody that pays attention to him and sort of sees him just a little bit the way he wants to be seen, I think he falls fast.
Now, with that being said, who do you think is better for Jimmy, Mia or Emily?
Wow. He describes Mia as having seen him as something bigger than himself, or an idea that he like wanted to live up to but never quite felt like he lived up to. And it feels like Emily sees him to a certain extent for who he really is, you know, which is like a hardworking guy who's out of his depth and trying to keep up. You know, Mia saw Jimmy to a certain extent as a rodeo cowboy, as a kind of rock star, which Jimmy aspired to, but I think could never quite live up to. And I think Emily sees Jimmy for maybe who he really is today, you know, which is a hardworking ranch hand just trying to stay on the horse, you know?
In season 4, Jimmy had that opportunity to reach out to Mia after the breakup with a letter, but he decides against it. Why do you think that was?
You never text your ex. You know what I mean? There's never
Or snail mail them.
Yeah, there's never a good reason to text your ex, because it's like, what are you looking for? What are you seeking from that person by writing them? And where else can you find it, you know? Because if you write a letter, that means you're hoping to get a response. What's it gonna feel like if you don't get the response? You know what I mean? Like, when you reach out like that, what are you hoping to find? So I'm glad Jimmy didn't, text his ex to a certain extent.
Looking back at season 4, what was your favorite scene to film?
Season 4 was, an incredible joy for me in general. It was so many new things for Jimmy, so many new sides to Jimmy. The first 3 seasons, Jimmy never quite gets his footing. He's always behind the 8 ball a little. He's always scrambling to catch up, which is very fun as an actor as well. It's fun as an actor to be out of your depth. But for the first time in season 4, Jimmy sort of starts to come into himself. And that's been an incredible gift to sort of show these other sides of him. You know, there's like Jimmy the romantic, there's Jimmy the sort of capable. You know, it's maybe the first time we see Jimmy as capable of rising to what he's asked to do. And so that was an incredible gift. Also, just getting to know the Cowboys down at the Sixes, seeing that space after spending, 4.5 years up in Montana, the beautiful ranch up there, the Yellowstone, getting to know that world. It was an incredible journey to get to see another side of the same coin down in Texas, in West Texas. I had never been to Texas in my life before we went out to the Sixes to shoot. And getting to know those Cowboys, getting to know that lifestyle was a tremendous pleasure. In part also because it represented so much learning for me.
You ready?
Ready for what?
Ready for work.
Taylor directed all those Texas sequences. You know, Taylor was really, that was his unit that he took down to Texas. Getting to learn from him at every turn was an incredible, incredible gift. And getting to learn from Kat, who plays Emily. She's a brilliant actor, stepping into a show in its 4th season, stepping into this sort of juggernaut show, this huge world. And she stepped into it so confidently, with so much power and such a sort of sense of herself. She kept herself so ably in an environment where it's easy to get sort of thrown off your axis, you know?
Yeah.
She's an amazing actor.
When we first were introduced to Jimmy, he's scruffy and, he's got a lot of facial hair. Now he's, more clean shaven and just looks a little bit more put together. Is this that next chapter of maturity for him?
I hope so, yeah. I ended up, that beard, that quote-unquote beard that I had for 4 years is about the best that I can do. I had to start growing that thing 3 months prior to shooting and just walk around with this really patchy, kind of embarrassing nightmare on my face. So I'm grateful that Jimmy is evolving in that way. It's been a real, it's also like, as different things are asked of Jimmy, he evolves and his body evolves in different ways. Rodeo cowboys have a very specific kind of body that you develop, incredibly thick neck just from getting bounced around on the back of a bucking horse. That's different, a little different than a ranch hand's body. That's a little different than, a meth head's body, which is where Jimmy started out.
You're a 2-time loser, Jimmy. One more felony and they throw away the keys.
Oh, right there. I touch a lot of horses now. I've gotten in trouble a few times on the set for petting the horses too much. Because petting them is supposed to be like a reward when they do a good job, and I just walk around petting them all.
They all think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing a good job just standing there. I'm sending mixed signals, You
got treats in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
You got carrots. You're just
like, hey, come on, man. Please quit petting that horse.
And now they're going to act up in the scenes
That's
because
exactly
they think
right.
they're always doing
I'm
something
undermining
right.
their years of training by petting them. They're really cute.
Oh my goodness.
But they're
Now,
also athletes.
We got to talk about, obviously, the spin-offs with Yellowstone now. This has become a universe, and you are a part of this universe. How does that feel?
It's incredible. As a huge fan of the show, and I've been a fan of the show, with all due respect to fans of the show, I've been a fan of the show longer because I read the scripts. So I've been a fan of the show for, 4.5 years now. And so when I heard about 1883, I am so excited for 1883. The cast they've put together.
So y'all just sit and watch. You look like you had it figured.
Thanks for the help.
The production design, that, like, you know, we mythologize the American West, and Yellowstone is a little bit about what comes after. You know, Yellowstone is about this modern West, the evolution of this grand tradition, this grand legacy. So seeing sort of where it comes from and the sort of seed of that West, I'm so excited. And that cast is truly bonkers. Billy Bob Thornton is one of my sort of all-time idols.
There's only one killer in Fort Worth, and that's me.
I'm so excited to see everybody's work in that show. Tim McGraw, Faith Hill.
I was waiting for it. I was like, when you got Tim and Faith.
Incredible. Obviously, it goes without saying, Sam Elliott, a legend, an incredible actor. Yeah, so the pedigree of those actors, and then seeing Taylor, like, I'm also a huge fan of Taylor Sheridan's work.
You James Dutton?
Yes, sir.
Mind if we speak?
Whatever you're selling, I ain't buying.
To see him do a period piece like this, as far as I know, it's the first sort of foray of his into period, you know, into the past. And he has such an incredible sort of powerful, singular vision. I am so excited to see that play out in the West.
Good luck, Jimmy.
I said luck has nothing to do with it.
No, I said luck has nothing to do with horse showing. For this, you're gonna need all the luck you can get. See you around.
And obviously, also we have the Sixes, and Jimmy helped introduce the Sixes to the audience. What are you most excited for fans to see more of at the ranch?
I think, you know, what's incredible about the Sixes is it's a real ranch. You know, the Sixes is one of the oldest ranches in Texas, one of the oldest ranches in the country, one of the sort of largest functioning cattle ranches and, you know, horse training and breeding facilities in the country. And so I think, you know, I'm really excited for people to see the kind of real, gritty, not glamorous world of real life cattle ranching, you know, now in modern times.
What do you think should be a part of the Sixes spinoff?
Anytime I think I know what should happen next, something completely different happens and it's way better than my idea. Taylor has only ever surprised us, thrown us curveballs that we never would have expected, and that is the greatest gift. You know, you don't want to put a dumbass like me in charge of decisions like that. All I can really do is try to hold on to the horse, you know?
No.
You gotta give yourself more credit. You are doing an amazing job. I mean,
that's very kind. I feel incredibly lucky to be just holding on, you know?
Literally.
Just holding on, sort of flopping around, and I haven't fallen off yet. Well, I've fallen off a few times, but so far I've gotten back up.